ideas for greater engagement and impactful change.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's still open? Oh, I'm just trying to make it look like a best.
Or as Calgarians who can make a difference. And you can make a difference. We have to recognize power as a necessary tool for influence and change, and we need change in this province and in this country. Understand political office as the means and not the ends.
So we need to find a tipping point for our work, right? And many of the suggestions that you're saying, let's put our stories up front through the arts, through the public school system, through food, through the archives, public archives, through public events and conversations and collaboration. And that's the purpose of our conversation today or tonight.
Think about what you are leaving and preserving for generations, because if you want to be part of the narrative, it requires you to think about what you are leaving for future generations. Why is it the media and our government and everybody can continue to play ignorance, and they are also truly ignorant about anti-Asian racism, which is real and live in this country? We hope all of us will provoke ideas for greater engagement and impactful change.
It sounded good.
Who are those people? They sound good. If you remember, I said something similar in Montreal.
You find it. Sounds safe.
Where is he? Here.
Through dialogue, conversations, imagination,
I knew how to generate men.
understanding of the context and issues that impact
We was talking about her and me. What you mean by your
Last 6.
That's what I did.
We should need the shop here more.
Yeah? You don't get this as much as you. No, you get it.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Asian Canadian Intercultural Dialogue in Lethbridge and area. My name is Ben Reyesong and I'm the Community Education Lead, Project Lead of ACCT Foundation, and I'm also a proud member of the Filipino community and Asian community. So thank you to all of you who gave your Saturday afternoon for this dialogue, which is essentially you giving your time for our community, for the Asian community. And then today's all about sharing and storytelling. So we will have a chance to listen to amazing stories from our community leaders and from each other. Today is our venue to converse, to connect, and to collaborate. So through the power of conversation and storytelling, and with your active participation today, you will leave the event with increased knowledge and understanding about all the other Asian communities, connect and network with fellow community members, and inspiring leaders, as well as discuss next steps for greater and collective impact towards advancing inclusion and equity in Alberta. So our theme for today, so who has read the invitation letter that we emailed out? You. So does anyone know what the theme is that we are using for our dialogues? It's No Canada Without Me. So No Canada Without Me speaks about the importance and value of all who consider Canada and Alberta their home. So you being here already shows that you care about our community, and today we want to go beyond our own Asian cultural community. So while the presentations and stories today are centered on the 5 East and Southeast Asian communities, that's Chinese, Filipino, Japanese, Korean, and Vietnamese, and as you know, mainly this is prompted by the impacts of COVID-19. Everyone is invited here, so we have 3 hours here. Text your friends, text your neighbors, they can come and join us. We want to learn, we want to hear about you, we want to hear from you and learn more about Lethbridge, your experiences and stories here in Lethbridge, Taber, Medicine Hat, and the rest of our Southern Alberta region. Our dialogue today will be very interactive. There will be a short presentation as a backgrounder of our Asian communities. Then we will have a community dialogue. So you will have the chance to share your stories, to converse, to ask, and get to know each other a little bit better. And then I just want to say that today's activity or our event is organized by ACCT Foundation and Act to End Racism Network. Both are nonprofit organizations that aim to enhance understanding, engagement, civic participation, and leadership among Asian Canadians. But more importantly, we won't be able to do this event here without our local partners. So we want to thank the support of Filipino Canadian Association of Lethbridge. Vic is the president there. Thank you so much. This is a joint, we present this event in this venue because they're a member of the Southern Alberta Ethnic Association. And we also want to thank the Nikkei Cultural Society of Lethbridge and Alberta. We have Diana Oye as their president. And lastly, some reminders. So on your tables, you'll find some post-it notes, some paper and markers there. Feel free to use them. There's also the photo and video reminder. If you don't want to be seen or you don't want to be seen in photos and videos, but of course we want to hear from you. So there are stickers at the back, the round table at the back where the brochures are. You can put those stickers on so that if ever our videographer John or us who are taking photos will include you, we can take out that when we do the edits. There's also you probably know where the washrooms are more than I do, right? So I think they're around the corner. And then if you haven't registered, please make sure that you register. If someone registered for you, but you want to be part of the, if you want to get updates from us after this event, make sure that you're registered so we get your information. And snacks are there. We don't have any designated time for snacks, so it's the whole 3 hours. So you just just go and get some snacks. We have coffee and tea there. And then to start our exciting afternoon, we would like to acknowledge the land we are on today. So for our land acknowledgement, I'd like to call on Diana Oye, the President of the Intercultural Society of Lethbridge and area.
Thank you, baby. And thank you so much for everybody being here. It's so nice to see so many faces. Okay, and welcome as we gather today to celebrate the many Asian communities that contribute to the cultural fabric of Alberta, and specifically to Lethbridge and area. We acknowledge that we are gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot Confederacy of the Canadian Plains. We respect the Blackfoot people, past, present, and future, while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land. We offer respect also to the Métis, who have all lived on this land and made Lethbridge their home, and we appreciate that living in connection with Indigenous people enriches all of our lives.
Thank you, Diana. So when we started this journey as the ACCT Foundation ACTA and Racism Network, we actually engaged with 3 elders in Mohkinstsis, or more commonly known as Calgary. We had a great conversation with Elder Adrian Wolfleg of Siksika Nation, Elder Gilbert Crowchild of Tsuut'ina Nation, and Elder Rod Hunter of Bearspaw First Nation. We encourage our communities to start integrating truth and reconciliation in their projects as organizations and in their settlement and integration, their personal journeys, as Asian Canadians in Treaty 6, 7, and 8. So today, we call upon our collective culture and traditions to work together, build relationships, and have deeper and meaningful collaborations across cultures and generations to create an inclusive space for everyone in Alberta. So thank you so much, Diana, for your land acknowledgement. We have a short and quick activity, right? Like we have an activity right away. This is to start us to get to know each other a little bit better. So I call on Anne-Marie, Anne-Marie Pham, the CEO of Canadian Center for Diversity and Inclusion.
Thank you, Bang. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure for me to be with all of you today. Thank you again for being here today. And this icebreaker is really for us to get to know a little bit of who's in the room. So it's going to be very quick. I'm going to be asking you some questions. And if that question applies to you, please stand up. Or if you don't want to stand, it's okay, just raise your hand, okay? And have a look around the room to see who's here. So you have an opportunity as well for this event to get to know each other a little bit better, okay? We really hope that part of this is relationship building, it's making connections, and hopefully building stronger opportunities for collaboration into the future. Okay, so let's start off. If you had a really good lunch today. Okay, yeah, some of it got spoiled today, and we had a great lunch in Lethbridge. Thank you very much. Please stand if you are part of an organization that is a service provider. So you provide service to different groups. Great, wonderful.
Service.
Okay, so let's just do a shout out of the name of your organizations. Okay, so we'll start over here.
I'm with the Calgary Japanese Community Association. I'm also with the City of Calgary.
Excellent. Did you hear that? Calgary Japanese Community Association and City of Calgary. Yeah. Just shout out any ones that are different from what you've already heard. Okay? Yeah. No? Okay, back there.
Filipino Canadian Association of Lethbridge, Alberta.
Thank you. Right? Over here. A citizen?
Lethbridge Senior Citizen Building.
Lethbridge Senior Citizen.
Lethbridge Polytechnic and the Japanese Garden Society.
Awesome. Thank you.
Lethbridge Family Services, Intercultural, and I am president.
Oh, you coordinate. Thank you. Awesome. Immigrant Advisory Table. Okay, from the LIP as well? Okay, wonderful. Great. Back there.
Southern Alberta Chinese Association.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, Lethbridge Chinese Language School.
Right.
Recovery Alberta for Addiction.
Thank you. At the back, same.
I'm with the Lethbridge
Okay.
Society as well, and also the University of Lethbridge.
Awesome, thank you. Any other organizations?
I'm with the Filipino Association, but I also work at Good Samaritans long-term care.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm from Calgary Korean Women's Association, Anna.
Filipinos Rising in Calgary.
Action Chinese People Living Together Foundation.
Calgary Arts Development.
There's one there.
There's one over there.
Filipino Society and Labor.
Labor.
Tabor, yeah. Welcome, Tabor. Did we miss anyone?
Pinoy Hour is here. Their media, Filipino media.
Filipino media. Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Please have a seat. Okay. Are there any groups that work with youth specifically?
Youth.
If there are, please stand. Okay. You too. Okay. Yay. Thank you. Youth. Any with seniors specifically? I think you said you and you in 1, 2, 3. Okay, wonderful. Any groups specifically with arts and culture? Yeah, quite a few. Okay, at least 7 or 8. So you know when you raise your hand, maybe just keep it raised for a little bit longer or stand so that people can see who you are, in case you wanted to make some connections as well. Okay. Let's see. What else do you want to say? Please stand if you are an immigrant to Canada, i.e. you were not born here. Okay. I would say about half of the room, right? Is that not born? Yeah. Wonderful. Please have a seat. So, can we do a shout out in terms of where you were born? What country? We'll just do popcorn style very quickly.
Malaysia.
Malaysia. Philippines, a big group over there. Okay.
Korea.
Korea.
China.
China. Hong Kong.
Vietnam.
Vietnam, me too. Really? I'm so excited. I didn't know if anyone would be coming. Okay, that's great, amazing. Any other countries that we missed? Japan, wonderful, excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, and how many of you are excited to connect with new friends today? Please stand. Yay!
Everyone has to stand.
Thank you so much, everyone.
That was really nice. So I hope you got to see who's doing the same work, who's doing similar work, and who you can connect with today. So thank you, Anne-Marie. So now for the first story that we will hear, we would like to start it off with our stories. We would like to call on the MLA of Lethbridge West, Rob Miyashiro, is the newly elected MLA or member of the Legislative Assembly of Alberta for Lethbridge West, won by election in December 2024. Very recent. Congratulations. We're very proud here. Rob has also served 2 terms on Lethbridge City Council from 2013 to 2021, and he has worked in the human services sector for over 40 years and is completing his work at Lethbridge Senior Citizens Organization, where he has served as executive director for 17 years. So let's all welcome Emily Rob. And we only have 1 mic today.
I'm really excited to be here today to talk to everybody a little bit about my story and why it's important that we do these kind of activities in our communities. I grew up. I can't say I grew up. I was raised in Tabor, and so if any of you know that in southern Alberta we have a pretty large Japanese Canadian community. A lot of it was because of displacement during the war. Excuse me. But my family came here before the war. My family came here in the late 1920, 21, somewhere around there, because of the famines in Okinawa. And so we've been here a long time. But we also, when we're talking about ending racism, even the people that were here suffered racism during the wartime. I have a picture of my aunt's card that she had to carry, very similar to, actually it's almost exactly the same as the card that Indigenous people, First Nations people had to carry. It had your where you live, which electoral division, because you couldn't go outside of that without permission. And so those are things that that people don't like to talk about very much anymore. And I think those are dialogues and conversations that we still need to have because it happened and it's something that should never happen again. My journey's a bit different, so there aren't a lot, especially around here, not a lot of Asians run for public office. My problem is I have a big mouth. And so when I was advocating for different things and giving my opinion about how I think things should work and run, people said, well, maybe you should run for office then. So that led to 2 terms on city council and led to me being the MLA for Lethbridge West. Now, it's important to me, and I'll end it fairly quickly, but it's important to me because we need more people in political leadership that look like us. And I can't state how important that is for any people of any ethnicity to see themselves represented as leaders in the community. When I left city council, someone told me that what they missed the most about me not being on council, it wasn't my witty repartee and my advocacy for different issues in the community. It was because they couldn't see themselves in council anymore. They couldn't see themselves being represented in our community. And I think that's important, and not to say that all of you should run for office, but it's important that you as leaders in our community, people need to understand that you are leaders, and people need to understand that you're representing them, even if they don't realize that you are. So I'm very proud to be the first Japanese Canadian, Okinawan Canadian to be elected on City Council in Lethbridge. And from what the people at the legislature library told me, I'm the first Japanese Canadian and Okinawan Canadian to be elected MLA in Alberta. So I'm very proud of that fact, and it's something I think that carries a little bit more responsibility for me to be a good MLA, to represent people not just in Lethbridge, but to represent all of you the best that I can as someone that's an Asian Canadian as well. So.
Yay!
Thank you so much, Rob, Miyashiro. You will be staying with us for the rest of the afternoon, right? For most of it, so you can connect. So that's the first story. We'll hear more in a bit, and we'll hear about your stories too. So to give us a quick background and mainly the reason why we are here, let's welcome Teresa Wupo, our chair of ACCT Foundation.
I'm going to stand here because I have a couple pages of notes. I'm warning you. So I don't get to do the fun thing that my good friend Anne-Marie does. So I'm here to provide a little bit of background and welcome. So first of all, congratulations again, Rob. And thank you to you all. Happy New Year, and thank you for taking time to work with us, and to also to give us your time this afternoon to share, to have this exchange and this dialogue, this conversation that I hope to lead to many more in the weeks and years to come. So you're here for the Intercultural Dialogues on Successful Integration, Resiliency, and Community Building Initiative. I don't know why I actually come up with this long project name when I submitted the proposal for money. But this is the government. This is a province of Alberta project. So the objective of this project is for us to organize activities that would help newcomers and Albertans to understand the process of settlement, integration, and sort of successful success stories. But of course, in reality, we know that our lived experience is a mixture of many things. So today is for us to share our lived experience. So, this is put together by the Chinese Action Chinese Canadian Together Foundation and the Asian Canadian Together Act to End Racism Network. So this initiative is supported by the government of Alberta's Ethnocultural Anti-Racism Grant, which supports community initiatives to increase cultural and cross-cultural awareness and to educate Albertans to prevent and address racism. So while Alberta continues to be a place of opportunity for waves of immigrants and racial minority communities, the path to settlement for newcomers and the path for full and meaningful integration of racialized Canadians can be an arduous and challenging journey. So, Hilsa, are you helping me? Yeah. So, in terms of my job, context setting, 2021 census, a total of 7 million people in Canada reported having an Asian origins. So representing almost 20% of the population in Canada. So Asians represent Canada's fastest growing population group as a result of immigration. From 2016 to 2021, Asia accounted for 6 of the top 10 source countries of immigration to Canada. Just over 3.4 million people reported full or partial East or Southeast Asian ethnicity during the 2021 census, with Chinese at 1.7 million, Filipino over 900,000, Vietnamese 275,000, Korean 217,000, accounting for the largest Canadian communities from this region. So we had a slight change of plan, so if I think I get things mixed up, you forgive me. So I'm going to skip to, so over the past 2 centuries, immigrants have journeyed to Canada from East Asia, Southern Asia, Western, Central, and Southeast Asia, bringing our society a rich cultural heritage representing many languages, ethnicities, and religious traditions. The people of these diverse, vibrant, and growing communities have contributed to every aspect of life in Canada, from the arts, science, to sports, business, and government. So a large percentage of South Asians, 60%, Southeast Asian, 58%, Arab and West Asian and Chinese, believe that Canadians shared values, that is justice, fairness, inclusion, to a great, and also first generation Canadian embraced multiculturalism at a higher percentage than Canadian-born Canadians. So we embrace Canadian values. Filipino, Chinese, and Vietnamese Canadians make up a substantial portion of the workforce in health and food services sectors as essential workers. Our role and support of this country was, well, evident to a lot of Canadians, but not necessarily profiled adequately in the media. So we have served this country together with Japanese and Korean Canadians. We have provided support and services to Canadians during challenging times, such as the pandemic, as well as time of prosperity. Members of these communities have been blamed, scapegoated, and mistreated during the pandemic, which triggered the resurgence of anti-Asian racism. These communities' participation, contributions, and stories of resilience, whether recent or historical, are largely unrecognized. So during this time of I think we're still talking about EDI in many places, maybe slightly less so than 2 years ago. Anti-Asian racism remained to be underreported, understudied, underdiscussed, and omitted at most places. So this project aims to increase the knowledge on the focused communities development, participation, that doesn't apply to me, so, and contributions to Alberta and Canada. So to enhance the broader community and Asian Canadian communities' understanding on the dynamic development and experience as a people in Alberta, our journey, the journey of these communities, need to be shared, heard, explored, examined, and better understood. So through, I think I was going to share three more the charts. So before I wrap up, I would like to just take 1 minute to help set the context from the perspective of our experience with racism that you don't hear the media talk about. So this is from the Association for Canadian Studies, which shows East Asian Canadians, Southeast Asian Canadians, and also South Asian Canadians, that we are more likely to feel personally attacked on social media. You don't hear this reported by anyone. You don't hear anybody in Canada talk about this or show any kind of concern about this, right? I'm not going to read the numbers to you. So you can see 77%, you can see 46%, you can see 38%, much higher than any other ethnic cultural groups in Canada. Okay, next one. So this one on attack on social media. And if you read some of the media smart studies, which focus on the impact of social media on children, a large number of our young people are constantly exposed to racism online. And we don't talk about that enough. So this is the Asian Canadians are more worried about the degree of racism in Canada. Okay, so Asian Canadians, you don't hear people talk about that. Okay, so move on. I'd be happy to share this with you if you're interested in having some of these studies, and we have a lot more. Okay, lastly, so, and we are less likely to report positive mental health during the pandemic, and even today. So if you look at South Asian Canadians, their mental health have been hugely impacted by racism. And yet, as a country, as a society, people are not talking about this. So this is impacting us and impacting our families and our communities. So, so this project aims to increase knowledge on on our focus communities, our development, participation, contribution to Alberta and Canada. We're inviting you to share your experience, your stories, and also your issues and concerns. So we want to enhance our understanding of our place in Alberta. And by the way, in the preparation for our dialogue, which took place in Edmonton last month, and today here, next week in Red Deer, and in Calgary at the end of February, we try to look at what have been recorded about the participation and contribution of these 5 communities in Alberta, not in Canada, and there are very few information. Okay, so anyways, we hope that through dialogue conversations, we hope to spark imagination and inspiration, generate greater insights and understanding of the context and issues impacting our reality as individuals, as community, and at a systemic level. So we want to increase our own and society understanding that Asian Canadian is, each one of the Asian community is diverse and complex. And we are also resilient. I think through learning about each other, I think that is going to be hugely reinforced. And so through sharing of our experiences, we also have some of our panel members from a spectrum of backgrounds that I'm not going to describe. I think they will describe themselves. That we hope that we will build and some connections and serve as the conversation started today. So, and then Ben mentioned that this conversation evolved from an idea emerged from the Act to End Racism Network that was formed during the pandemic on raising recognition for the role we play as essential workers. And so we have a campaign called No Canada Without Me. So we would like to also invite you, after today's conversation, think about how your family, how your community have contributed to the building of our province, our country, and also consider sharing it online. so that we can share it with more people and encouraging more Canadians to reflect and share their stories. Because I think we all have played a role in the building of our province, of our country, but our children are not learning it in school. So for 13 years, our children are not learning how our community have built this province and built this country. So we look to you in the coming years to actually make inclusive curriculum a reality instead of talking about it for the past 40 years as a country. So anyways, with that, I think I should wrap up and go on to the next segment. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Teresa. I'm hearing whispers here. See, there's next steps already. This is very helpful, and I think this will really inform our discussions today, or help speed us along in the dialogues that we'll have. So now we proceed with our panel. As I mentioned earlier, this Asian Canadian Intercultural Dialogue panel consists of Asian Canadian leaders from Calgary and Lethbridge. So while they are from diverse professional backgrounds, the presentations today will be within the context of their cultural community. But they will be highlighting also their backgrounds, their interests, and their journeys. So we have allocated 10 minutes for each of the 5 East and Southeast Asian communities. And in the spirit of fairness, the order of these presentations were done through a draw. So it's not alphabetical because Vietnamese will always be the last. So we did a draw. Every location we go, we do a draw. So now we start with Teresa Wu Po and Patty Pon. Teresa is the chair of Action Chinese Canadians Together, or ACCT Foundation, and Act to End Racism Network. And Patty Pon is CEO of Calgary Arts Development. So I invite you to.
Are we all going
Yes.
at the same time? Or
It's up to you. You can all go. You can all go one at a time so that they can see you, who you are. Next in our panel is Anne-Marie Pham, the CEO of CCDR, Canadian Centre for Diversity and Inclusion, and also the co-founder of Calgary Vietnamese Youth Association. We have Vic Visitacion, the president of Filipino-Canadian Association of Lethbridge, Alberta. Yay! Cesar Cala, the chair of Filipinos Rising, or for short FRIENDS. FRIENDS is an acronym for Filipinos Rising for Inclusion and Equity to Nurture Democracy. And Marichu Antonio, the former executive director of Action Dignity and currently the advisor of Association of Filipino-Canadian Community Leaders of Rural Alberta. We have Kevin Okabe, the president of National Association of Japanese Canadian. Ken Richardson, the director of Calgary Association of Japanese Canadians, and then Diana Oye, the president of the Nikkei Cultural Society of Lethbridge. And last, we have Anna Ko, Calgary Korean Women's Association, and Jay Shim, the founder and owner of Shimlaw, and an advocate for equity, diverse inclusion, and multiculturalism. So, can you identify which one's which? Let's all give them a round of applause, please. So we'll start with Teresa and Patty, and then we'll just pass along the mic.
Okay, so Patty and I will start with some brief information about the Chinese Canadian community. And I don't know whether I have slides. I think, do we have slides of the Chinese ones? Okay, so the Chinese, very briefly, the Chinese community is one of the biggest ethnic groups in Canada. Chinese immigration to Canada was impeded by a head tax. Chinese immigrants to Canada were completely prohibited from 1923 to 1947 through the passing of the Chinese Exclusion Act. And Rob mentioned earlier how Japanese Canadians had to carry a card. So Chinese Canadian, including those who were born here, also were required to carry a card at all times during those 25 years, or they face fines or up to imprisonment. So Chinese Canadians mostly settled in cities, making contribution to many different spheres of Canadian life. First Chinese Canadian immigrants to southern Alberta arrived in 1886. The establishment of laundries services in frontier villages was initiated by the first wave of immigrants to the Alberta region. In terms of another key aspect of the Chinese Canadian development and presence throughout Canada and Alberta is Chinatown. Chinatown is a Canadian heritage. Chinatown did not exist to be a place for fun because Chinese Canadians were not allowed to live anywhere else, and that's why we have Chinatowns. And of course, as an issue, 60% of Canada's Chinatown have disappeared in Canada. So, the other major issue facing Chinese Canadian is continued discrimination, more at a systemic level. So one of the issues that the Action Chinese Canadian Foundation focus on is on leadership advancement and enhanced civic engagement. So I'm going to highlight the 2020 Angus Reid Institute survey of over 500 Chinese Canadians. And the survey found that there was almost unanimous agreement on amongst the 550 Chinese Canadians. Being Canadian is an important part of their identity, and they love Canada and what it stands for, and they feel a strong sense of belonging in this nation. But at the same time, their own ethnicity is a source of pride. But only 1 in 10, 13% thinks others in this country view them as Canadian all the time. That is 10%. And so I'm going to stop there and then do our story sharing. And after the Edmonton session, Bang really encouraged us to do something that's more interactive. So yesterday, I was trying to think about how I do that. So I was trying to dig up some photos. So in the process, I actually decided I'm going to cheat. So and which would also help me stay in time. So I'm going to share a video. I was trying to look for photos, and I did not have a lot of time. So I thought of this video where I supply them with photos. So I'm going to show you this 3-minute story of mine. Thank you.
Very strong, courageous grandmothers who came to North America not knowing any English and built a family. So, yeah, my family was impacted by public policies. So I think that's part of my interest, perhaps, in public service, because I understand the impact of public policy. I'm Teresa Wu Ha. I was involved in community building, community development for over 4 decades and served in public office for 12 years. I immigrated to Canada with my family in 1972 as an adolescent, so I'm a first-generation Canadian. However, within my family, I'm the 4th generation because both of my great-grandfathers came to North America as laborers. The policy at the time separated my grandparents for 33 years before they were reunited. This is a very interesting question, especially for, I think, someone of Asian descent. We try to be humble, and, I think the word starter, someone who worked towards breaking grounds to solve problems, is probably what I'm known for. I think that I have been able to and blessed with the ability to bring diverse people together to solve problems and to create greater impact. I went on to study social work at the University of Calgary. In the mid-1990s, I became involved with concern about education for newcomer students, and I ran for school board trustee and became the first Asian Canadian woman to be elected to the school board. In 2008, I also became the first Asian Canadian female to be elected to the
Alberta legislature, and then also appointed to cabinet. I think my passion for a long time was in community service, in community work. So that's why I started 8 organizations, non-profit organizations, and spent between 6 to 25 years to build each one of them. I'm always very proud of my campaign teams because I always have a very multi-racial, multi-ethnic campaign team. On the night of the election, my first election, 2 Indigenous women ran into my campaign office. They really wanted to vote before the voting station closed. I was honored to get their vote. I also learned that day that an 85-year-old Chinese elderly, Mrs. Wong, asked for a ride to vote. And that was her first time to vote in 50 years in Canada, because I gave her a reason to vote. Be bold, speak truth, and take action. I think I've been very lucky living in this environment where I could actually follow my heart and really take action on what I believe in. So as a social worker, empathy is very important, compassion is very important. So I was able to actually apply what I believe in, what I learned, to help to create greater impact and a better life for other people.
Thank you so much. That was really nice.
Yes. So I cheated. That was okay. So I was going to say a few things, but I just want to make sure my colleague Patty have enough time, so I'm going to let her speak first.
Okay. Let me set my alarm. There we go. Hi. So good afternoon. My name is Patty Pon. You heard. Thank you very much, Bang. Also, ni hao, mamel na flongo, and oki natanako mistamot samyaki. And so whenever I have the opportunity to speak in front of new friends, I always introduce myself in those 3 ways. So my English name, my mom named me after her best friend in Canada. My Chinese name, my dad gave me my name, and it's for the goddess on the moon. The second most important holiday in the Chinese calendar is the Harvest Festival in the fall. And there's a beautiful story of the goddess on the moon who is waiting for her great love to come onto the moon and join her. And then my third name is my Blackfoot name. I was gifted a name by an elder from the Gaina Nation, which is right beside Lethbridge. And the translation is 2 standing headdress women. And it was to acknowledge and recognize the many, many ways I give service in the community. And so I do that because I want to acknowledge the many, many ways that I live and walk in this world and in this community. And it's also a way I hope to encourage others to be proud of all the different identities you have. So my story is one about assimilation versus integration. And so I am a 1.5 times Chinese Canadian. My mom was born in a small town in Alberta. My grandfather came to help build the railway, which is a very common story for many Chinese Canadians at that time of immigration. And with his brother, they came to Gold Mountain. My dad, on the other hand, was encouraged to come to Canada to find my grandfather, who had also come, but went east, and also my grandmother sent him away because she wanted to protect him from the oncoming conflict between Mao Zedong and Chiang Kai-shek in China. So she wanted to protect him from that time. And so we ended up in Calgary. Many of you know the Calgary Stampede. And my earliest memories of living here was going on the Midway and and having the Stampede be a part of my life, right from a very, very young age. And yet, I tried many times to volunteer for the Calgary Stampede, and I was never successful until I think I was a volunteer for 10 years, so it might have been 2010, and then subsequently I was elected to the board of directors of the Calgary Stampede, and I was the first woman of color to be elected in its 112-year history. So I share this photo in particular because I think when we think about belonging, it is different in Canada. It is about bring your identity in the many ways that you live that identity and be a part of it. And so when you heard from MLA Miyashiro and when you hear from Teresa, we got to bring our identities. We get to bring our identities to our work. In my work life, I am the CEO of Calgary Arts Development. We are the city's largest, we're the funder for arts and culture, and I'm the CEO. And so I get to decide. We have a $21 million budget. We went from $6 million in 2018 to $21 million in 25 now, and I got to be a part of that alongside the first Muslim mayor of a major Canadian city, Mayor Naheed Nenshi, and then subsequently getting to work with the first woman of color, Jyoti Gondek, who was elected as the mayor of a major city. So we are in this time when who we are in all of its glory can come to the table with us. So when we hear we need to see more of us, that is true. And I would encourage all of us to think about that, and that we need to see more of us in the ways that are true and authentic to us. So if it means that, I mean, in 2 weeks' time, you'll see me in my Cheongsam, and I will be going to the Lunar New Year celebrations, and I will be celebrating the Year of the Snake with many, many cultural communities in Calgary. And I get to be that, and I get to live that. That's what Canada is. It is not a melting pot, like our friends to the south are often encouraged. That's what makes Canada, Canada, and that's why all of you are so important to the story of Canada. And your kids and your grandkids will benefit from that. So thank you all very much for taking the time to come out with us today and be able to share with each other.
Is there time still? No?
Thank you very much. It's always very inspiring, to go after you, Teresa and Patty. I'm with the Vietnamese community, and I'm the only one on the panel here from the Vietnamese community. So please allow me to share a little bit about the community. And also part of what we've been asked to do is to share a little bit about our leadership journey with you. In Alberta, there are actually now about 40,000 Vietnamese Canadians in Alberta. And there's only about 300 of them in Lethbridge, according to the statistics. So it's a pretty small community in Lethbridge. I'm from Calgary, and it's quite a bit larger. So the largest communities are definitely in Calgary and in Edmonton. And the story of the Vietnamese folks here is actually following the fall of Saigon on April 30th, 1975, which was the end of the Vietnam War. South Vietnam was taken over by the northern Vietnam that was communist, right? So basically the whole country became communist, and then a lot of rights were suppressed, and people lost their homes, their jobs, opportunities for human rights and democracy. And then you started to see a mass exodus of what we call the boat people, the refugees, that left Vietnam for better opportunities, risking their lives for the future of their families, right? And leaving everything behind. So that's the story of many, many Vietnamese people here in Canada. I was fortunate enough that we immigrated to France because my dad had a job at the Vietnamese embassy in Paris. So we left 2 years before the fall of Saigon. And so when it happened, I was only 5 years old. I was in France, and my dad lost his post in the embassy because he was with the previous government, and then we became political refugees. And so from France on, like many immigrants, my parents had to start from scratch and open a restaurant in France, right? For 10 years, so we opened a Vietnamese Chinese restaurant 1 hour from Paris. But my father started a lot of work, community work, building a world coalition to fight for human rights and democracy in Vietnam from that point on. Fast forward, at the age of 15, when I was 15, a family moved to Canada. And so I came to Calgary, and the story there is, for the first time, I saw a big Vietnamese community, this community of refugees. And I was very touched by their stories, which was way harder than my family's story. And I got involved in the community quite a bit, volunteering with many different groups. And I saw the difficulties of so many individuals in terms of like being recognized for their foreign credentials, having the ability to learn the language, to integrate, to establish themselves, and to create a good career for their family and their friends and their community members. And so, and even for myself, coming to Canada as a young person, I already knew English and I lived in France for a long time, so everybody was telling me, it's going to be no problem, Anne-Marie, it's going to be so easy for you to integrate, but it wasn't. In fact, I think my life experience in France was more inclusive than my first experiences in Canada, back in 1985, right? They did not assess my transcript. They put me into all the lower level classes. There was this invisible wall. You are an immigrant, you're not white, and so you hang out over here, right? And it was very strange for me because I never experienced that. Like all my friends were white French people before. I didn't understand what was going on. So that led me to a path of like doing community work, doing school in sociology. I studied the Vietnamese youth group 22 years ago. And then I'm a little bit of a serial community entrepreneur. Started the Asian Professional Network of Calgary. Whenever Teresa, Cesar, and Mary, two other folks call and say, let's do something for Asian Heritage Month, or let's talk about anti-Asian racism, I just jump into the occasion because I really believe in us building a community and supporting each other, but also finding ways to collaborate amongst various Asian communities because we share unique stories of migration and integration, but common stories of anti-Asian racism, integration, and that bamboo ceiling, right? So fast forward 8 years ago, I joined the Canadian Centre for Diversity and Inclusion, and it's a national charity that whose mission is to build a more inclusive Canada. And so our focus is in the workplace. It's in schools and it's in communities. And we work with over 700 employer partners across Canada to educate them on how their workplace can be more inclusive and equitable for all dimensions of diversity. But what was really interesting in my many years of working with these employers, doing speaking engagements, traveling all over the country, is that the issue of anti-Asian racism is the most forgotten one in the workplace. You hear a lot about a lot of other things, right? Women, gender issues, disabilities, anti-black, anti-indigenous, but the anti-Asian is forgotten, right? And people still, even within my organization, I've heard from a few people, do we still need to talk about anti-Asian racism, right? Is that still a thing? And some employers say the same thing. So why is that, right? And how many of you, if I were to ask you, how many of you think that you were passed over for a promotion because you think maybe you were Asian? When you think about it in your workplace, right? I know I have. Not in this job, but in previous roles, right? And this is experience of like the bamboo ceiling. So it's like, the glass ceiling is for women in advancement, while for Asian folks, we call it the bamboo ceiling. And it's basically this lack of opportunity for Asian people because they are the model minority. They work very hard. We don't complain. We're very good at our technical jobs, right? We're collectivist in nature. We want what's good for everyone else, and sometimes we forget to promote ourselves, right? And so that shows up in the workplace. Sometimes we're quiet and we don't give feedback directly because in our culture, it's more appropriate and respectful to give feedback indirectly, or you don't give feedback without being asked, right? There's a number of things that play into the difficulties of us being heard, but also the stereotypes that other people have about Asian people, right? And so I see this consistently in almost every workplace across Canada, all three levels of government, in the not-for-profit sector, in schools and public institutions, and in business. And so this is why I'm here, right? A lot of the work that I do is around social and economic inclusion. And I hope that you will join us, and this is why this conversation is so important, is that how can we work together to address some of those issues. Thank you.
Our turn. Thank you. We've known each other for so many decades now, but I still learn a lot from the stories that you share, so thank you. My name is Cesar Cala with Filipinos Rising, and I'll be presenting with two other Filipinos, Marichu Antonio and Vic from Lethbridge. Okay, so just a really quick overview. Filipino Canadians in Alberta, this is from the last census. So there's about 216,000 Filipino Canadians in Alberta, and about 2,400 in Lethbridge. I'm sure there's more now. I was looking for Tabor, but I couldn't get some of the data, so you probably know how many Filipinos in Tabor as well. So we're the fastest growing ethnocultural communities in Alberta and in Canada as well. So the numbers, and this is very important, the number of Filipino Canadians is growing quite fast in rural and smaller cities in Alberta, right? And so in terms of our immigration story, we came through significant waves of immigration, right? In the 60s and 70s, many came as teachers and engineers. Actually, many of the teachers ended up teaching in southern Alberta. They were brought in as teachers, but they were not allowed to teach in the public school system. What happened was they were invited by First Nations to be teachers in their schools. So many of them who are now in their late 70s and 80s could still remember being surrogate aunts to many of the indigenous kids. And many of the indigenous kids look at them as their family members as well. So then came the healthcare workers and live-in caregivers and other frontline workers in the 80s and 2000. What is significant though in the Filipino community, starting in 2007, because of changes to the immigration policy, more temporary visas were given to Filipinos than permanent visas. That was the shift in 2007. So now, many Filipinos are coming in. We still get the permanent residents, but more so as temporary foreign workers and as international students. And that has created a lot of issues that were highlighted during the pandemic. So what do we bring in? What do we bring in as a community? So we bring a culture of caring and volunteering. Because in the Philippines, because of weak institutional supports, we had to rely on ourselves. So we bring that sense of community and support to each other when we migrate to the places that we go to. So we organize and contribute to vibrancy in the community. So wherever you go, if there's more than one Filipino, I'm sure there will be a Filipino organization, right? 100%. And more, maybe 2 organizations. How many organizations in Tabor? Just 1 for now. Okay. We are also frontline workers, and in many industries and in many economic sectors. We bridge across cultures. We're finding out that because Filipinos organize naturally in many smaller towns and cities in Alberta, that many of them are now actually supporting other racialized communities in many of their work. So we kind of tend to be bridge builders because of our history as well, because we're Asian, but we're also Latino because we were Hispanized, and we became under the direct supervision of the Catholic Church, right? So we can bridge cultures, and we're also partly Chinese, right? And Pacific, right? So we're a melting pot. We are a culture of values of community. Bayanihan is one of our most important cultural values. It means being hero to each other. Bayanihan. We also, malasakit is deeper empathy. And pakikipagkapwa-tao means you are treating each other as fellow human beings, right? But we also have a lot of deep-seated issues, especially lack of economic mobility. Many of our Filipino members are stuck in the service economy, right? And that's a big problem. We are also seeing decreasing educational attainment, especially of the second generation. First generation coming is very educated, but we're seeing in many statistics in second generation that there's less number of Filipinos in second generation that are finishing high school, and more so finishing post-secondary. So that is an issue. Okay? And now some of our stories. That's just the overview. Just a quick introduction of ourselves. You know, this is the hard part for us because we don't talk much about ourselves, but we were encouraged to share our stories. So I come from a background in community development and community organizing. So I've worked in both the community side and the funder side in Calgary for so many years, so many decades. Together with Teresa, Marichu, and others, I was one of the co-founders of what was the Intercultural Council of Calgary, which is now known as Action Dignity, right? And also the Asian Heritage Foundation. In the funding world, I've been known to have introduced citizen-led, citizen-focused funding, because many of the funding before were going to large charitable organizations and service agencies. My advocacy was to have resources made available to grassroots and citizen-led organizations. So that has become practice now in Calgary at least. Right? I'm currently the president of Filipinos Rising, which is a group of volunteers across different experiences and careers. So Marichu asked me to include this. For the work that I've done, I was given the Governor General's Award as Caring Canadian. Okay, thank you. And now I'll introduce our next speaker, which is Marichu. Marichu, again, is also a community leader and innovator. Together with many of the people here, she was also one of the founders of the Intercultural Council Action Dignity, which she later headed as its executive director, and also Filipinos Rising. And of course, Asian Heritage Foundation as well, right? She is known for her innovative approaches, which was highlighted during the COVID-19 pandemic, and also of the many programs she was heading. And she was voted as Calgary Citizen of the Year in 2020, the first woman of color to ever be recognized in Calgary. Okay.
Thank you, Cesar, and good afternoon to all of you. Maybe just a little bit of a background. Cesar and I, we've been here in Canada for 30 years. So most of our adult life. And we came here with our families. We have big families, just like all the other Asian families. When we have simple reunions, we have over 50 people. in one house. Anyway, so in those 30 years, 25 years of my life in Canada has been with the not-for-profit sector. All the 30 years I've been in community building. Even when I was retired 3 years ago, I was asked to volunteer in various organizations, including this one. So we're still doing community work. The only difference is that it's no longer paid work, but it's still okay. We're surviving. Anyway, one of the things we would like to emphasize is, aside from the problems that were raised a while ago, is what can we do about these problems? And we would like to emphasize that it's very important for us to first look at ourselves as assets in the community and not highlight the deficits which, you know, the mainstream groups would like to see us. We're seen as clients, we're seen as beneficiaries, but it's very important for us to see ourselves as contributors. And so how do we do this? We really need to be innovative in our way. So what I thought that maybe we could give a few brief examples. So when I worked with the Center for Newcomers, I've worked there for 12 years in Calgary, we had to start with people's potentials. And when we started hiring staff to serve newcomers, we had to hire newcomers themselves. Why? Because it's very important to focus on people's lived experiences. People who are undergoing barriers, being newcomers, barriers to settlement, are the best people to ask, what can we do in order for us to give? So maybe that's what we need to bear in mind. When we started the ethnicity catering, it's a social enterprise, the Center for Newcomers. We are usually told, oh, you don't speak English, then you are not qualified. Oh, you were born outside Canada, then you are qualified. When we started the business, we asked, is your English your first language? No. Were you born in Canada? No. Then you are hired. Because that is how we could run a successful enterprise that highlights the positive contributions of newcomers. Again, during COVID, when they blamed the COVID spread on us, Asians, right? What did we say? These people are the ones who are sacrificing their lives and their families and their health, providing us with food every day. If not for the many Asians who are working in the grocery stores, we would have nothing to buy in the groceries. Even the McDonald's, which the kids would like. So when COVID struck a lot of Asians, many Asians did not want to get food from food bank. Many Asians did not want to get dole outs because they looked at themselves not as beggars, right? And when we started the multilingual hotline, where you only dial one number and you can get in touch with anyone who speaks 24 languages, we reversed our approach. We told people we're approaching you because we would like to thank you for sacrificing yourselves and your families, putting your families at risk. So get these 2-week food packages so that you will get well. And so when we reversed that kind of a logic, we were able to reach over 20,000 people in a period of 1 month to avail of the benefits. And then that put the COVID rate down and increased the vaccination rate. And who came up with those ideas? Us who are racialized, who developed ways of approaching or managing the crisis. Maybe one more final example, the Filipino Association, and this is a segue to Vic,
we were able to form a rural-based provincial collaborative. It started with 4 communities around the Banff area and Airdrie. Now, the AFCLA, we call it the Alberta Field Can Community Leaders Association. It's a collaboration of 54 rural municipalities in Alberta. And Tabor and Lethbridge are some of the members, covering 54 municipalities and 34 organizations. It's very important to also to give priority to rural Albertans and rural Asians. So if we can learn from that, what we did was we gathered over 200 leaders from these 54 municipalities for 2 days and came up with a strategy. We identified issues and some solutions and a strategy for 5 years that is embodied here. And one of the results now is the formation of a rural-based youth council, and Aisha, who is here today, is one of the youth leaders. They've been meeting online. So innovations too in collaborating with these young students and young people. So now I would like to pass this to Vic, who will talk about the Lethbridge Airport.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vic, and I'd like to shortly introduce myself. I'm a pharmacist by profession, and I guess I'm one of the healthcare workers who moved to Canada because back home, like I'm a pharmacist by profession, and there you cannot practice much clinically. It's pretty much like selling. So I was asked by my parents, like, would you like to be a doctor here in the Philippines or move to Canada? So I said, like, it will be better for me to move to Canada. I'll be able to practice what I learned in school in a much better way. And now I'm part of the Alberta Pharmacists Association leadership cohort, and I advocate for the healthcare of Albertans. And also, I'm the president of the Filipino-Canadian Association here in Lethbridge. And just like Marichu said, the Filipino-Canadian Association of Lethbridge, Alberta is part of the bigger association of rural communities, Filipino communities in Alberta, and I'm the secretary of that association. So I always like to get the voices of the Filipinos heard. That's why I'm really active in doing these community events. And so part of our programs here in Lethbridge, we do have many core events. So we start with the Heritage Festival. So the Lethbridge Filipino Heritage Festival is usually happening in Lethbridge in June, and that I'll say is the biggest Filipino Heritage Festival being celebrated in Southern Alberta. In 2023, we have like 1,500 people in attendance, and because we invite local artists and we invite artists back home in the Philippines as well, just to help bring in the sense of Filipinos being home, and we celebrate our culture through music, dance, and we just not celebrate it ourselves, but we share it with other people by inviting everyone. It's open to the public. It's at the Henderson Park, and yeah, it's a celebration of Filipino culture and our cuisine as well. We also have wellness programs that we do in the environment, in the community. We have free Zumba sessions that we do at Henderson Park as well. We also have basketball and volleyball clinics for the youth. We also have the twice a year basketball and volleyball tournaments that we do either at the Lethbridge Polytechnic or at the Lethbridge Senior Center. So we usually do it like every weekend for like 3 months, something like that, or sometimes just a long weekend, depends on what the players feel, if they want a long tournament or not. But yeah, what we do with those is that we help divert the youth, and also like it's a good what do you call this? Sports is a good it improves their mental health and avoids them from being addicted to other bad influences like drugs. So yeah, and lastly, we have community events like the Family Day during February and the year-end gala. So just to make the community more vibrant and cohesive. So those are the events that we do for the community, for our heritage and culture and the arts as well. So yeah, thanks so much.
Hello everybody, we're just gonna get our presentation hooked up here. My name is Kevin Okabe. I'm the Executive Director of the National Association of Japanese Canadians. I actually live in Kananaskis, Alberta, but Nassau's not a very far drive from here. And
While we're waiting, do we have any questions? I picked up some of the things, but I also want to, I picked up some of our speakers, what they said. I always learn another, new thing every time we have a dialogue. I picked up on Patty's, like, controlling 21 million. See, like, someone in our community can do that. I also want to ask, I picked up on the sports, because sports is very big in the Filipino community. Is it the same for the rest? Oh, yes? Yes? What sports? Which ones? You said yes, and then no sports. And then nothing. So, curling? Golf? Soccer. So I think that's one of the things that can also bring people together, right? Like, aside from food. One of my big dreams is to have an Asian food festival. Like, that's always a big dream for me. I am an event planner, went back home, but I'm so tired now to do that. But please, if anyone is interested to do that in Alberta, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm going to be the first in line. So maybe some of you have questions or something that you thought of from our past, the speakers. Any questions? Because this is just, this is not a formal thing. It's like a very... sure, yeah. We can start with the Korean community first. And Anna.
Hi. Jay, would you like to do first or? Okay. Okay, I'm going to be really quick. Now, my name is Anna Ko from Calgary Korean Women's Associations and Korean Art Club founders. I hear all the other countries, and we are lucky, or I don't know. Fortunately, we don't have to go through a lot of different issues. But we come from the Calgary in 50 years plus, and we all come from the mostly investor to Canada. And that time, I come to 1974, Calgary only has 800 people Korean. And we are more like a family. And we do the whole business and all people to go to school. And in 1974, I was a young woman who dreaming come to Canada, do different life. I thought maybe we're gonna have always big parties and all those dreams in my mind. When you come to Canada, all different story. I faced the language first and cultural issues, and it's shock. And my mind is, what can I survive here? And a little later, I find out I got pregnant. And that's the beginning of it. And all these issues, I survived until this. 2011, and till that time, I was, so many issues go through our communities. And woman, you are a woman, you cannot go outside. You cannot do this, you cannot do that, kind of things. My mind is, no, why not? Man and me is the same thing. I got same thing as a man does. I got same thinking. And then I said, no, this is not right. Starting to something come out to my heart. And we are women, so if you women think about it, what we can do? Okay, let's get in together, Korean Women's Association first. And then we getting together, get some ideas. So first we just fun to the singing, fun to the art, something. And then later on we think about the different stories. You know, this is not all we want. We want to how we can connect our second generations, how we survive in Canada life. We are the same people. We got educations and we got everything, but we don't get the same benefit as Canadians or other country people. And then we think about different things, and slowly we get changed. Right now, and all these people helping Korean Women's Association grow up. We are go out there. 2024, we got funding 115,000. This is first time, and our women's group is so proud and benefit of our community, women's. We do more like sharing the techniques. We do informations. We what is a better life? And what's health-wise, how we can get the information, how we can do better generate them, our kids, what kind of school they want to send them, or how we gonna be, a career they're gonna do it, those kind of things. And now we do, I see them, I have to learn a lot of things still, and we still go for it. And then I am leading programs, my age is going up there, I need to go behind. I'm looking for new generations and leading our programs, leading to our communities. That's where it's going. 2025, we have a big goal again, and we're going to go for it. And then wish to you all bless us and give us more connecting and more information so we can do better. So I'm going to hand it to Jay. He has more to talk about and I don't have very much. So here's Jay.
Hi everyone, my name is Jay Sham. I'm from Lethbridge and Taber, so I'm happy to see people from Taber. Also, when I was driving to Lethbridge, I feel like I'm coming home. I attended W. Myers High School when my family came to, my family came to Canada back in 1999. And then after I finished my high school, I went to University of Lethbridge, studied political science and philosophy. So political science and philosophy are the kind of courses that you take if you want to pursue law school. So there was a lot of classmates that who want to go to law school. We took the classes together. And once I finished university, I got accepted to the University of Saskatchewan Law School, and my legal study started from there. I'm a lawyer, by the way, and I came back to Lethbridge back in 2012, 2013, practiced for about 1 year in Lethbridge, and I decided to move to Calgary with this vision that we all come from different countries. I want to build up the law firm with multiculturalism, and we all speak different languages, but we come to Canada with hope and visions. And I chose Calgary because Calgary was the place to go in Alberta. And when I moved up there, and I started my small law firm. And right now, last year, we had a 10 years anniversary of Shin Law. And currently, we are a medium-sized law firm and speak about 20 different languages within our firm. When I created this law firm, I had this vision that in our firm's culture, we respect each other's languages and culture. There's no discrimination. We are all inclusive, and that is very important to me. And my philosophy was passed down to my colleagues, lawyers, staff members, and so on. The issue of discrimination, one of the practice areas that I do is employment law, and sometimes from time to time, when I have clients' consultations, they are discriminated. They think that the employers do not treat them fairly because of based on racial discriminations and so on. It's sad to hear, but that's our reality. What is important for this session is that we have to have more sessions like this in order to understand that there's issues out there, and we also have to learn. That also includes our judicial system as well as legal professions, because imagine that we face this discrimination issue, and you see a lawyer, and you want to challenge, you want to fight in court, but the judges are the decision maker in court, and if the judges are not really educated to understand the issues like this, your rights are not going to go that far. So I think the community leaders that we are having here today, at the end of this session, what is most important is that you go out, you talk about these issues, and you share about and tell your stories that we are living in Canada, and we have a great theme here. No Canada without me. Each individual value is very important. So I want you to keep encouraging that. Share your stories with other friends and colleagues, and we keep continuing, this exercise. A little background of Korean Alberta communities. I think there's a few Korean people coming to this province back in 1960s, and there's not many Korean people back then. But around 1980s and 1990s and 2000, the Korea had an IMF, the financial crisis, early 2000, late 1990s. That's a lot of Korean people came to Canada, and most of the Korean people reside in Calgary and Edmonton, and the Lethbridge. I know that there's a few, or maybe not many compared to Calgary and Edmonton. But Korean people are more like entrepreneur. We go out, smaller towns and smaller cities to do business, and that's what first generations do. Like not just the Korean people, but also other ethnic groups. When they come to Canada, they open up small businesses in order to support your children. And that's what we do. And 1.5 generations and the second generations, we study, we have the benefit of our parents' hard work, and we pursue our education and become a professional, and hoping that we can improve our nation as a whole. How am I doing in terms of time? This is 10 seconds. I have 10 seconds. Okay, so I'm here today from the social justice perspective. After our panel's brief introduction, if you have any questions about the social justice or legal system, inclusion, multicultural perspective, I'm more than happy to talk and share. Thank you.
Hey, sorry about that. Let me, we've got our presentation teed up here. Okay, again, I'm Kevin Okabe with the National Association of Japanese Canadians. We are a national umbrella organization of 22 member organizations across Canada. 3 of them are located within Alberta, including Edmonton, the Intercultural Society of Lethbridge, as well as the Calgary Japanese Community Association. And we're happy to join you here today. In terms of our history, it seems like we actually have a pretty long history with the immigration to Canada, starting over 140 years ago with the first arrival of Japanese immigrants onto the BC West Coast. By the 1900s, it actually grew to 5,000 people, and that has grown in 1907 to over 18,000 people. So the core creation of the Japanese community was started quite a long time ago. For us, it was a very significant community impacting event happening during World War II, when the forced expulsion of Japanese Canadians from the west coast of BC through what was later to be fundamentally racist actions as opposed to security actions, which forced the removal of the majority of the Japanese Canadian community from the west coast past the 160-kilometer exclusion zone. So there were no Japanese allowed to live in that zone 160 kilometers inland from the BC West Coast. As a result of that, it had this huge impact in terms of dispersing the community across Canada. So a lot of people had to go to either internment camps or road camps within the interior of BC. Quite a few of them got dispersed through sugar beet farms, both in southern Alberta as well as in Manitoba. And there's been further migration of people going out to Ontario and Quebec. So that affected, I think, the majority of the population that were obviously located in the West Coast were all gone. Subsequent to that, in the next slide there was actually restrictions placed on the Japanese to return to the West Coast. And those were not lifted until 1949, so quite a few years later. As a result of that, there are a lot of the properties that were seized as a result of that, and supposedly held in trust for the Japanese Canadians. They are actually sold, and resulting in a dispossession of all the Japanese Canadians' properties, farms, fishing boats, cars, things like that. And part of that was to ensure that there was not a return, or not an easy return, for Japanese Canadians to come back to Vancouver. Essentially, they lost all the property. The right to vote was not restored until 1948. And as well, there was also a number of Japanese that were forced to repatriate to Japan, even though a lot of them were born in Canada. So that was a very big impact on obviously our community. And the National Association of Japanese Canadians was formed and got being energized back in the late 70s to pursue justice in terms of forms of a redress. And that was achieved in 1988 with a settlement with the federal government that amounted to about $450 million in restitution, primarily going to the individuals that were affected. And as a result of that, there was also $24 million used to create the Canadian Race Relations Foundation, which is a foundation that continues to exist today to promote advocacy for human rights. More recently, actually, in 2022, we actually wound up with another settlement with the BC government because of their role in actually forcing these racist actions to occur. And as a result of that settlement, it actually wound up with the creation of a $100 million settlement for the Japanese Canadian community in a variety of areas, which are still being implemented today. So one of our important elements of pursuing redress for these justices is also to have a monetary impact, and it's pretty symbolic. It wasn't really a restitution per se, but it was something that was used to help acknowledge that these wrongs occurred, and it set the precedent for a lot of these settlements to occur since then. We had a role in helping, for example, with the residential school settlement, and a lot of the other organizations that probably supported us. We also encouraged them to support, like the Chinese head tax settlement and all those other ones. So that's fundamentally a key part of our community. Me personally, I'm actually a 4th generation Japanese Canadian. My family originally came from the 1900s. The one unusual thing about my family as a fourth generation is every generation has married someone from Japan, which hasn't really happened a lot. And so my wife's from Japan, my father, or my mother, and my grandfather all came from Japan. Despite that, though, I have the Japanese literacy of a 3-year-old, apparently. So, in common with a lot of the 4th and 5th generations within our community, one of the characteristics is we really don't speak Japanese. A lot of the customs and stuff, we're not really that good at. But that's essentially the evolution of our community. I'd like to now turn it over to Indiana to talk about the community in Lethbridge.
Thanks, Kevin. I think I have about the same literacy level. I'm going to be talking about the integration of the Lethbridge, of the Japanese Canadian community in Lethbridge and some of the institutions that has fostered. But I'll tell you a little bit about myself first, because my perspective on things comes from somebody who does not come from this area originally. So I am 3rd generation Japanese Canadian, so Sansei. But I was not born and raised in Alberta. I actually was born and raised in Thunder Bay, Ontario, which had a very small Japanese community, but had a very small Asian community at the time when I was growing up there. Both my parents were products of the internment, and they were both born pre-World War II in BC. And products of the forced relocation. My parents both, their families both ended up in Manitoba, hence the kind of proximity to Thunder Bay, ultimately. I am, as you know, the current president of the Nikkei Cultural Society of Lethbridge and area, and have been an active member of the board since probably about 2008. I actually don't remember specifically. I am also a faculty member in the Department of Music and former chair of the Department of Music at the University of Lethbridge, which is how I ended up here in Alberta. I'm a teacher, professor, an active performer. I'm a pianist, and in both solo and collaborative areas. I'm an administrator and community leader. I'm also a Shotokan karate practitioner. My husband runs a karate school here in Lethbridge, and I am his senpai or assistant instructor, sort of. Okay. So when I moved to Lethbridge, one of the first things I did was to seek out an organization that represented Japanese Canadians. And of course, all of the great food and restaurants and stores, Nakagamas is one of them that many of you might be familiar with if you are familiar with Japanese food. I started to learn more and more as I got myself involved with a dance group and also with the Nikkei Cultural Society at first in the mid-2000s, and started to learn about the unique nature of this community. It is quite different from other Japanese Canadian communities across the country, for reasons probably for its history, where there was a significant population here pre-war, the Okinawan population, as well as the post-war internees. There is a long and rich history in Lethbridge and area. It's woven inextricably into the fabric of the city, while now Japanese students, new immigrants contribute even further depth and complexity to the community. I will be talking a little bit about some of the major groups that we work with, the Nikkei Cultural Society works with. Because of the lengthy history of the population here, the Japanese Canadian population, there are a number of many organizations that are that are very strong and functioning in and of themselves. And we, as NCS, try to be that umbrella organization. But because there are so many different divergent, that's one of the challenges that some of my NCS colleagues here and many others from the community will be highly aware of. probably the first and strongest organization to be to bring the population together, especially in the immediate years post-war, would be the Buddhist temple, and the first temple being the Raymond Temple. Ultimately, the number of various temples from various communities amalgamated into the Buddhist Temple of Southern Alberta, which remains to this day a very strong force, both within the Japanese Canadian community and the growing external community as well. There is also the Japanese United Church, the Galt Museum and Archives. For those of you who may not know, the Galt Museum is housed in a former hospital in the Lethbridge area. A lot of Japanese Canadian nurses, early graduates of nursing school, were there. And we have the Nikkei Cultural Society has a relationship that goes back to its beginnings, our organization's beginnings. We are celebrating, by the way, our 25th anniversary this year. We were, well, before the NCS, there was the Lethbridge and District Japanese Canadian, sorry, I've got the wrong, it's the Lethbridge and District Japanese Canadian Association, the LDJCA, and they disbanded in the late 1990s. The NCS rose up as a result of a collaboration with two collaborations, really a book project, a history book project, and the work on an exhibit with the outlining the Japanese Canadian experience in Southern Alberta, which would be called the Nikkei Tapestry exhibit at the Galt Museum. So after one of our very important partners is the Nikayuko Japanese Garden, which many, I think, of you will be visiting later today. And we have an important colleague here who is where are you? There we are, Dawn. Dawn Sugimoto is the president of the Garden Society Board. The Nikayuko Garden was built or established in 1967 and was a collaboration and still remains an important collaboration between the city of Lethbridge and the Japanese Canadian community. I will also mention that martial arts and especially judo and karate dojos were established very early here in the history of Lethbridge and area. I want to turn to a couple of important collaborations now that are about youth and growing the community that we serve. And I'll mention here the U of L, Dr. Carly Adams at the back of the room, and myself, Dr. Gideon Fujiwara, a number of members of the community who are associated with both the garden, NCS, the temple, are also U of L faculty members. And so we have collaborations with the Modern Languages Department. I heard recently that while enrollments in modern language courses tend to be drifting downward, the Japanese course enrollments are drifting upwards, and I think that's an interesting statistic. There's the Center for Oral History and Tradition, specifically the Nikkei Memory Capture Project, which Dr. Carly Adams and Dr. Darren Aoki are central to, and our international office, which deals with all of the Japanese and non-Japanese, all Asian and international students from around the world. One of the projects of the NCS has been to try to widen our audience. We hold annually a Bunkahashi Festival, which is basically a festival that celebrates both popular and traditional Japanese arts. So with a heavy emphasis toward popular culture, anime, manga, things like sand painting and Japanese dance and all sorts of things are integrated into that festival. And we have a new group which is called the Ikigomi group, and this is a youth-led, youth-oriented group that tries to marry the generations, various generations of both Japanese and those interested in Japanese culture. I would like to sort of end with the idea of the importance of partnerships and collaborations. As I've mentioned, we have collaborations with the U of L, the Garden, the Temple, the Japanese Consul General, the Southern Alberta Ethnic Association, which we are also a member of. And I would like to just sort of finally say that my research area as a faculty member and my performance area as a musician is as a collaborative pianist, which, without going into the details of what that exactly means, is really about the specialized art of working with others, knowing how and when to lead and to follow, how and when to ebb and flow naturally between states in my performance, and how to read others' intents and to be readable to others. Inevitably, this focus spills out into other areas of life. And I hope that our participation in this event helps to start and build relationships among and with our communities into the future. Thank you.
Great, thank you. My name is Ken Richardson, and I have the least Asian face among the board members here. I'm half Japanese. My day job is I'm the manager of the creative in-house agency at the City of Calgary, so we do all the design marketing for the City of Calgary. But in my volunteer life, I'm with the Calgary Japanese Community Association, and also one of my colleagues here, Joanne, is a partner with me in doing the Japanese festival that happens every year. So we're always looking for volunteers, just saying. So good enough for you guys. I come with a slightly different story than most people here. I was adopted into a white family when I was quite young, when I was 2 weeks old or whatever, and I actually didn't reconnect to my Japanese heritage until I met my birth mother in my mid to late 20s, which was quite interesting. And that's when I found out I'm related to half a Tabor. So my birth family's name is Fujimigari, so if anybody from Tabor, you probably know some of my relatives. It's funny, because when I was adopted, I always knew I was half Japanese. I always knew my last name, and when Google came on the scene and I Googled it, I saw there's like 9 Fujimigaris in all of North America, so I figured must be related to some of them. The interesting part is, of course, my mom was a nurse and was able to have me without anybody in the whole family knowing. So when I reconnected with my Japanese family, went to a family reunion, they went, ta-da, here's my son and my grandchildren. And everybody was kind of freaked out. But the cool part was that I was welcomed with open arms, but when I looked around, I realized that every single one of my relatives and cousins had married outside the Japanese community. Every 100%, except for me. I'm half Japanese. I'm married a Japanese person, so I was the only one in my whole generation who married a Japanese person. So why am I saying that? The reason why I'm saying that is the next generation in the Japanese community, quite a large population of that is half Japanese like myself. So the question is what is it to be Japanese? How do we look at the sustainability of our community and involve those people that have to think about themselves as, am I Japanese? Am I part of the Japanese society? The segmentation of the Japanese society in terms of, those that are half, those that are first generation coming, the immigrant population, those that have been here, 5 generations. Those that came before the war, those that, like, for my mom's was actually interned. and was actually, her and her sister were graduates from the Galt nursing school and all that kind of stuff. So it's what I find really interesting is how do we bring the youth back in? How do we look at all the different cohorts within what is called the Japanese community, and how do we make programming that makes sense for all those people? So, interesting problem, something I'm working on, something that keeps me up at night, something that when we're doing programming within Calgary Japanese Community Association, we're always talking about, and something when we're doing the programming for our Japanese festival, how do we look at, Japanese community? Is it for the Japanese community? Is it for all those people that are interested in Japanese things, which is actually a very quickly growing community? Is what is it to be part of the Japanese community? So I'm sure that's those same kind of questions are being asked of each of your communities, and I think it's an exciting time. Looking forward to what happens. So there you go. That's all in a nutshell from my perspective. So thank you very much for everybody.
Thank you very much. Our panel of speakers, everyone, can one round of applause again for them. Thank you. So now we will go to the more important part of our event today is the community dialogues, the group dialogues. We will have 5 groups. One will be led by Teresa and Patty, one by Jay, one by Cesar and Marichu, Vic, and then one with Kevin, Diana, and Ken. And the others will be like Anne-Marie, Anako, and for some of us, we'll be going around. So you can join them because you want to be part of that, learn more about the community or what they talked about. I'm sure you remember everyone, what they shared. They're all remarkable. And we encourage you to please do share. This is your time. We will have recorders in each table. There's also a feedback QR code on your tables. And while you're going to do your discussions today, we will be passing around printed forms of the feedback forms so that we really value your feedback. And lastly, there are anti-Asian racism information materials that I know some of you saw already at the back. If you want to sign up, if you think your organization can distribute that within your geographical community and our cultural communities, please sign up there so we can send you enough. And we have enough copies that maybe you can bring home today too. So with that, our panel will learn how to work the recorders. You're all good with the recorders? Yes, and we can move around. You can also switch places and get to know other people also.
Hello. Sorry, disturbing you all. I didn't prepare to say a word, but then after you all said something, we should say something too. We are the Chinese. First of all, I appreciate Teresa bring your whole group come to Lethbridge, share your experience, share your activities with us. We really appreciate. Now, secondly is we Chinese, Alberta Chinese Association, the simple word is soccer. We organize every year like the community barbecues and the Chinese New Year party, and we do a lot of community activities. We not just try to promote our Chinese food. We are not just only promote our Chinese culture. We also involve like cleaning the highways, cleaning the garbages, try to show our face in the public is a positive. Not just in the old way, old generations thinking, you're Asia. No, we are today is different. We are very educated. We know we came from our own country, motherland. I'm pretty sure everybody loves your motherland. We also come to this country to build the new life. We love this country as well. So we would like to make this place better, like a new home, right? So now, I have, just now I hear some of you, your organization have funding. I tell you, Visaka, no funding, no single money. What we can do, we all just mobilize our community people to donate. So now we are going to have the Chinese New Year party. Now we maybe need so much money to spend on. Now we have no money in the pocket. What can we do? So everybody just donate the money from it. So if you have funding, please tell us how can we get it. Now another one. I know your Japanese garden is beautiful. I've been there every year, all the time, whatever your season, last season, I've been there. But we Asian should have our own park. Like the park means your Filipino, our Chinese, our Japanese should be our own Asian park. I mentioned that before to the city councilor and proposed it, never get a reply. So I need a feedback from the city. What's going on? That is, we know that Chinatown is over, finished, gone, not exist. But we need something to represent us, show our history, show our activities. We need our park. City, Lethbridge city has a big land. Why we cannot make a piece of land for us, for set up our own statues there? And the shows, this is our Chinese, this is our Filipino, this is our, all these Asian, many of like the Nepal, Bhutan, big community here now. So that's all I want to say.
I'm not going to say much because we really want to hear from you. This is a dialogue time, but I just want to very quickly respond. It's always great to see an assertive Asian woman. So, I want to share with you that because of race-based data, there's a recognition, at least at the federal level, that Asian Canadian communities will under-access public funding and programs. So I think it's a two-way street. So what is it? Our public institutions not doing enough to ensure that we have equitable access? And what is it that we need to build capacity, where we need to build our capacity so that we could actually access some of these resources to do the things that we think needs to happen in our community? One last thing, there's lots to talk about. We will do that now together. That's the purpose of this dialogue session. I got a little bit of money, not a whole lot of money, a little bit of money to actually incorporate the Act to End Racism Network. The federal government sees some value in helping us to formalize this national network that I started in 2020 in response to the resurgence of anti-Asian racism. So there would be opportunity for us to hopefully develop and maintain connections that we're making today, and explore opportunity for us to continue the communication, the connection, the coordination, the collaboration, and even partnership into the future. So that's what today's about. So enjoy your conversation.
panel. Please remember, we'll present 3 main highlights from each group today. We'll give you 30 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, that is the question. And they're trying to, sorry, trying to say yes, no, like,
Are you okay to start?
Yes.
Yeah. We're gonna take long and
Yeah, for sure.
good? How are you on time? 10 more minutes? 5 minutes? 5 minutes is okay? 10 minutes? Okay. Remember the 3 highlights, please.
That's what we find in our younger generation now. We get together, 80 to 90% of them are actually so they actually find interesting relationships with each other, discovering that connection with the Japanese because they all went through the same kind of experience growing up. And they get together. Mostly it's a unique experience for sure. Share that with people. They feel that they're unique. That generation, they're actually the dominant. They meet other people like that.
Thank
I'm not a Canadian, basically, till the mid-teens. And I think I figured that maybe other people knew me. But you know, what's actually dawning on me is that when I go to Japan, I never feel more Canadian. I'm still Japanese. I gotta have a flight on, gotta explain, talking English loud. So I said, don't speak in Japanese.
Hello. Last 2 minutes. Last 2 minutes.
The most culturally diverse group.
Like my last name.
Actually, I used to like
Okay, everyone, it's 5 minutes to 5 p.m. Are we ready to share highlights from the discussions? And please, I distributed the feedback forms there, physically, the physical forms. You can use that or use the, sorry, it's the or use the QR code that's on your tables if it's that's more convenient for you. So Vienna, is your group ready? All good? All right. Jay, you ready? Okay. And Patty and Teresa, we're okay to start the highlights? We can start with the other groups. Marichu and Cesar and Vic, are all good? It's now, 5 minutes to 5. Who wants to start? Deanna, you want to start? For
Okay, so I'm going to try and summarize this as much as possible. Our group here, a large number of the group from the Japanese community. So we talked about the Japanese community experience as being, especially after listening to the panel discussion here, as being quite significantly different from some of the others. We have a really high rate of intermarriage, about 80 to 90% of the younger generation, I think you were saying, Kevin. Long history of establishment in the community. And a lot of the kids are moving away from our own communities into other communities. And cultural organizations, our cultural organizations tend to be populated by non-Japanese Canadians as well, who are interested in Japanese culture. That with the situation in Japan, where citizenship now is being given to non-Japanese in order to keep their economy going because of the slowing of the population growth. We also talked about kids or parents not speaking the language in the home, the maternal language, and the idea of speaking only one language, which is probably inevitably will change over time. We talked about the question that is often asked of mixed racial generations. Where are you really from? If you don't have the appearance of looking Asian, then why? How is it that you look one way and you actually are of the Chinese community or whatever? People question kids' ethnicities and make assumptions based on what you look like. One of our table here said that the idea of I'm human first is a message that she wants to send. And we talked about the No Canada Without Me question, and we discussed that it creates pause for thought. And we like the idea that it is an inclusive idea that anybody could be a part of. The idea of not being a client, but rather being an asset, and asking the question, how do or did I impact others, is a really interesting question, but not necessarily one that we are led to think about unless we are actually cultivating that question for ourselves. In terms of Lethbridge itself, there was a comment about less access to activities in town, or it seems that some winter sports, skiing, some access to finance, education, and arts seems to be less populated by Asian communities. But also there was a comment that maybe we're just not noticing who the Asians are in the room because of intermarriage and the physical appearance. There was also a question of maybe we're just too cold here. And the comment also that there are different ethnic, but within each ethnic community and within each city, we seem to have disparate experiences in terms of bullying and racism. Some comments around the table here were that there was very little experience of bullying and racism growing up, and in other cases, quite a bit of it, daily experience. The general consensus around the table is that we would like to continue these kinds of conversations. It's interesting to hear the differences between urban and less, the larger urban communities and smaller cities. And I think that's basically about it.
Thanks, Deanna. Now we go to Jay's group. We can summarize it in the 3 highlights.
Okay. So we have a relatively small group here, and I'll be very brief. There's some pros and cons with respect to the experiences that we've had in the past. Some of the positive experiences, for example, when one of the members on our table experienced the discriminations, the management decided to terminate that person. I think that's the sense of encouragement that the more we talk about this kind of subject matters, we're trying to get rid of discrimination overall. Also, the negative aspect is that in terms of racial discrimination is less, but there's different types of discrimination. For example, the accent in English or French. We have members who came from Quebec, and they have expressed that the way they speak in French maybe is not the way they francophones speak. So they do not feel that they belong to that society. As a result of that, they moved to Alberta, and still, like in the workplace, when you speak, because we cannot, speak as a native English speaker, there's a sense of some sort of not really discrimination, but you feel that you don't get the fair treatment. But overall, we receive some good input from younger generations. We have 2 younger generations here on our table. They're really passionate about what they want to do in the future, and so far, I think. Sorry, I didn't get your name.
Sel.
Sel. Oh, Sel. Okay, Sel. He just finished high school, and he didn't experience any the discrimination and stuff within school, which is positive. And outside of the school, still not much of it discrimination. I think this is the kind of trend that we're gonna move towards, and that's pretty much about it. Thank you.
What did you learn today?
Okay. Thank you. That's a rich discussion. So who's reporting in this?
Yeah, you.
Okay, I'll start. So a couple of key points of discussion at this table is the challenge in accessing funding to organize, implement community initiatives. So touch on the need for capacity building, but also advocacy for simplifying, the funding application process to make it community friendly.
The other is the needs and benefit of building relationships amongst the different communities here. So it's very interesting that how we sort of divide ourselves because we don't have a lot of time. So I think it's a good place to start. So I think the members of this table recognize the need to continue to build the relationship. There's some expression of interest in organizing a Asian park for Lethbridge. So there's members of this table have an interest to explore that with others. Now we talk a little bit about the different models of collaboration because we have smaller communities in the smaller centers. And it's always a challenge with nonprofit having to, wanting to do things that is focused on serving the community versus actually building and taking care of an organization. So there's some discussion on how through different models of collaboration working together that smaller groups can overcome some of those demands and challenges. And then in addition to the Asian Park, I think there was talk about long-term care facility, the need to address mental health and addiction issues that we know that is prevalent, increasingly prevalent in Canadian society and communities. But those are some of the topics of discussion. Covered everything? Thank you. So now we have the last group.
These are the 12 disciples. Just kidding. Anyway, so we talked about what is it in Lethbridge and in Tabor that make them stay. Because this is what we're trying to study in the rural areas. Because the tendency is for them to go to bigger urban centers. But no, they would like to stay. So we asked, what is it in Lethbridge and in Tabor that brought you here? They said they came here because of employment opportunities that they would not have. Probably there's more competition in the bigger cities. Another is family reunification because there are relatives who have been here who sponsored them. But also they said, because it's the middle ground. It's not a very big city, but it's not a very remote area where they feel isolated. So both Tabor and Lethbridge are saying that we have enough amenities that we can avail of. We're close to a university. And it's more affordable to live here. And because of the Filipino value of, we call it bayanihan, of being together, the smallness, relative smallness, makes them closer to each other. But then we also discussed about, we don't just mingle with Filipinos. They've given examples like, whenever we hold community events, we would invite all the different cultures. So they've been talking about, in Tabor, there would be Japanese, Korean, Fijians, Indian, name it, they would come to their parties and they usually do this regularly. Unlike in Lethbridge, because of the huge Filipino population, it's mainly Filipinos, but they've gotten in touch with the Chinese Association that also provide them with support. They're happy to connect with the Japanese Association here. They said this event is an eye-opener for them, and they were truly inspired by the stories and examples that they heard today. One of the big lessons they said that they are thinking of now is the importance of telling your story, being proud of your story, and speaking out. Because we're too quiet. Sometimes the Filipinos are called the sleeping giant because we're huge. We're 250,000 here in Alberta, but we're just very quiet. One of the trends that was noted as presented here is the decreasing number of youth who are finishing degrees in universities. And there's recognition that because of the lack of affordability of education as well as livelihood, and rent costs are going up. So the tendency is for the youth to help raise money for the family. But then we also talked about maybe we should educate the community about availing of RESP, student loans, low interest rate, hopefully. So it's very important for our kids to have higher education too. The next steps that they were thinking of, one of the hurdles they said is that they're able to gather a lot of people, but rental for venues is not affordable. Sometimes they have to raise money just to pay for rent for the big events that they hold. So we thought of maybe advocating to the local council and because we have a very good example in Spruce Grove where the association was able to get free regular access to free venues, and they did a presentation to the council. They were granted $25,000 by the local municipal government for 3 years though. And so these are some of the ideas they thought. But like the previous group, they would also like more training on capacity building, applying for proposals, and knowing where to apply for funding. So that's this group, and we use the first language in our discussions. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. Do you want the group photo? Yes. We're Asians. We love a photo. Oh, yes. So we have one last announcement.
I have a flyer here. We're doing a Lethbridge youth immigration study, and we're looking for participants, and we're having trouble. We're looking for young people who are currently aged 18 to 30, not born in Canada. International students are not eligible. They arrived in Canada at age 12 or older, attended a Lethbridge high school for at least 1 day. There's a survey link if they're eligible. We've had lots of people who are eligible but they're missing something, and we're going to do some focus groups because we recognize that there's an issue. And we want to, Dr. Sydney Shapiro has taken this on, and we want to look at the real issue, not just what settlement workers or service providers say, but we want to talk to that population. So I have the QR code here. Also, it's almost full, but we are actually doing a immigrant mental health symposium coming together on the 24th of January. So if you want information, you can let me know.
Yes, we will. We can. Let's all organize ourselves in front, and then just a reminder again for the evaluation forms. Please, sorry. We value your feedback, so you can use the QR code or the forms that we left on your table. John? And for everyone's information, we have been live on Pinoy Hour the whole time. Yes, we've been live streaming. I don't know how to do that, but they did it. So Pinoy is like a slang for Filipino, so it's Pinoy Hour if you want to follow them on Facebook and reshare. It would be in their archives after this event. So yeah, we'll just use our screen as our backdrop. Okay, there's chairs in front already. Yes, they should have. So everyone, we hope you signed in so that you can receive the information that we will send out. We hope that you registered with us so that you can receive the slides that Teresa presented this morning. And then if we have time today, which we don't, but we'll have a highlights video also for Lethbridge because we did it for Edmonton, and that would be nice. Come on guys, we have 30 seconds before we're kicked out. Thank you. Come on, let's take a photo. Come on, everyone, come on, come on. Ready? 1, 2. Just kidding. That works all the time in family parties, you know. 3, 2. Come on. Come on, let's go. More seats in front. Laura, come on. Laura, everyone. I don't say it. Pinoy hour, come on. Join us. Sige na. Come on.
We'll put it in the journal.
Ah.
Say Asian. Not ancient, Asian. Here. Okay, where's the official photographer? There. 1, 2. No, one more. And then for the video, just kidding. Jump. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night. Yes. Thank you so much. Yes, 5:15 is our hour. No, you don't have to. Yeah.
You know where the garden care
Conversations. We hope to spark imagination and inspiration, generate greater insights and understanding of the contents and issues that impact our realities at the individual, community, and also systemic levels.
Asian issues are often forgotten. It is the invisible fund. We are still seen as a modern minority, and that we are perfect immigrants who work hard, we do quickly, and we are humble. We shouldn't end up with being gorgeous in this room. How do we sustain and broaden our ability to engage and organize people in order for us to have a voice as Asian Canadians?
They share cultural differences with common This is not just a justice system problem, this is a societal problem. Like, we all have to do our own part in order to change that. Remember that you need to share your story so that collectively we're going to have social recognition.
Think about your voice, how much power you got. We don't have the power very much, but we are together with the power.
in a year. There is a municipal election next year. But we have to know each other beyond our community as the Chinese community, or the Filipino community, or the Arab community. Or we need to know ourselves as Albertans, or as Edmontonians, or as Calgarians who can make a difference. And you can make a difference. We have to recognize power as a necessary tool for influence and change, and we need change in this province and in this country. Understand political office as the means and not the ends.
So we need to find a tipping point for our work, right? And many of the suggestions that you're saying, let's put our stories out